I'd like to welcome you all this evening to Chimney Rock Interpretive Association's gathering to kick off the major lunar standstill. Our special guest speaker tonight is Ron Sutcliffe, who was there the last time we had a major lunar standstill, and he's part of the committee we're working on for the next one. And lest I forget, his book is available at a special price only today, back here at the back table. $15 I heard, but we can't take credit cards, so it must be a personal check, a good one, or cash. $15 even, and Ron's going to talk, I hope, a lot about things in this book, but one of my favorite pictures is in the middle, and it describes the major lunar standstill. So, you know, check this out before you leave tonight. If you did not sign in back there, we'd like to kind of keep a track of who attended tonight. And I want to share with you some dates coming up. We have, for those of you who have a business and belong to the chamber, next Tuesday evening we have a business after hours. If you want details on that, see me. If you'd like to volunteer for Chimney Rock Association, we'd love to have you join the fun and camaraderie that this group has. See me later about that. I'll get you some details on that. Thinking out into June 16th, we have a concert in the courtyard behind the lodge. Used to be Best Western. So if you want to come and support the association and listen to some good music, that's the time to do that. Of course, opening day for Chimney Rock, the National Monument, is May 15th. That's also a very special day. We've got a special program that night on the full moon, and it's a total lunar eclipse. So very special evening for us. You can go to our website, chimneyrockco.org, and you can make your reservation there. I believe it's $20 a person. What'd you say?
It's sold out.
It's sold out already. Well then, let me give you a big hint. If you want to be there and haven't got your ticket, you need to become a volunteer, and we're just going to work you lightly, but then you will be there for the event that evening. I'm trying to think of any other dates. Those of Joan, do you have a date? Oh, you know, I want to introduce somebody else. You know, those of us who love the night sky. Joan, raise your hand. Joan has an astronomy club here in town. Yay, Joan. Some of us who volunteer for the association also belong to that club. So if you have an interest in astronomy and want to hang out with like-minded folk, talk to Joan about membership in the Stargazers. We meet once a month and we do a bunch of other fun things. And we got the Perseids meteor shower coming up this summer. So there's a lot of fun events involving the night sky. Joan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Pat's going to have his solar telescope set up on Saturday for Earth Day. And so I hope stargazers will just stop by so he doesn't have to talk to everybody by himself. You can just put in a little time and visit. And then I also, for a lot of you, you remember Steve McAllister from this last summer. He is the expert astronomer from Westcliffe Observatory. I have him set up for coming here twice in June, June 1st and the 22nd. And then he's also invited us to go to Westcliffe May, in the middle of May and the middle of June, and just check the website for the actual dates. And his website is darkskiescolorado.org.
And the Stargazers website is sanjuanstargazers.org. So check that out. So that's how you can stay in touch with us. And if you want to get our newsletter, let one of us know that we've got the white shirts on. We'd be happy to include you in the newsletter. I think that's all the clerical. The bathrooms are somewhere out that door if you need them.
Right behind the kitchen.
Right behind the kitchen. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce a member of Chimney Rock Interpretive Association, but also a wealth of information on our special event that he'll be talking about, Ron Sutcliffe. Ron?
I'm going to turn that off, so if it's not good for people in the back, just let me know. Sometimes I start losing my voice, but if I do that, just tell me, I'll turn this thing back on.
Turn it on, Ron.
Turn it on. How's that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, we'll use that. It'll save my voice. It's a little cracky. So unfortunately, I've probably got 40 different PowerPoints associated with what I would like to talk about, except tonight I wanted to show a plethora of photos as well, and a lot of them are at night, so we're going to go and pretend it's night, so we want to turn off all the lights. And we've got a little bit of light coming through here and there. If we have trouble seeing the photos, then we can actually pull down screens and things. But let's try it like that. Hopefully nobody will be too confused. And plus that, I won't see you roll your eyes at me that way too. Where to start? I don't know. This is a photo of a drawing of a painting. And evidently, 25 years ago, this was somewhere around Pagosa Springs. Has anybody seen this in actuality? I don't know what happened to this. But I do have a photo. It was taken by Glenn Raby. I've got an archive of Glenn Raby's stuff. I was around 20 years ago, 18.6 years ago, let's put it that way. One major lunar standstill cycle ago, I got involved and I sort of ran the program, as well as figured out all the astronomy. I kind of got the astronomy figured out 18 years before this, and then I wrote this little book. And at the time I was writing the book, I was also getting involved in Chimney Rock, so I used the photography at Chimney Rock in the diagrams on the book. But don't fret about the book. You don't have to buy it tonight. It'll be for sale at the Chimney Rock site all year. And it's basically, I don't know what the price is out there, but it's comparable. So I just brought some in case somebody wanted some before the season opened up. Now I need to ask, how many people have never seen a presentation on this lunar phenomenon before? Please raise your hand. That's what I thought. The reason I'm laughing is really what I was going to do, and I am still going to do it, is show a lot of photography, actual photography taken by myself and other people during the major lunar standstill events where the moon rose through the spires, stylized by this diagram right here, which is going to start next year around September of 2023. It's probably the first opportunity for most people to think about going up to Chimney Rock for one of these events. We're still working on the particulars. We still have Native American consultation to do, so I can't give you any details other than it probably will have public programs starting around September of next year, and they will go in the fall, late summer, fall, and early winter for about 3 years. So 3 years out of every 18.6 years, the moon will rise between the spires somewhat in what you see here. And you'll get to see what's really going on from a modern photography standpoint here in a minute. But I will tell you that photography does not even begin to capture what's going on. If you get excited about this event, you need to try to find a way to get a hold of a ticket to go up and be on the site. I dare say it's going to be an exclusive event, and right now we're with the Forest Service and talking. We don't want to make it exclusive to people with large amounts of money, so the way that we're probably going to handle it is by lottery. So all those details haven't been worked out, but whenever you need to keep a track of the chimneyrock.co website, because details will emerge on there first, and there probably won't be any other public announcements except maybe locally in the paper. But if you would like to go up and see this event in person, which is how I recommend doing it, then please keep your eyes peeled. I would think about this time next year, probably closer to opening day 2023. But we've got a lot of work to do, and if you want to get involved in helping us plan, please consider joining CREA and ask to be included on the Major Lunar Standstill Committee. Okay, so what I've done is I've prepared, this isn't a PowerPoint, so I'm going to have to jump around between menus and things. But I have prepared general information to start with. Let's see where we go from here. So this photo is taken from on the Chimney Rock Great House ruin itself in the wintertime, sometime November of about 2002, maybe 2003. And I used that, this diagram's in the book. I'm going to stop for a second because I forgot my pointer. It's right over here. Here we go. This might reflect. Well, maybe it won't work.
It's on here.
It doesn't like that screen. Okay, well, we'll just go, how about like this?
Fingers.
So this emulates the way the sun moves in 365.25 days, but it's actually just back and forth on the horizon, on the eastern horizon as viewed from Chimney Rock Great House. The reason I've done this circular thing is to let you know it's actually the Earth circling the sun that we're talking about, and so it is a circular motion. But as you're looking at the eastern horizon, it appears just to be back and forth. And it works like a sine wave, if you remember from high school and college. It goes really fast in the middle, and it slows way down, and then it turns around and goes really fast again, and then it slows way down. But it's a circular motion, but it appears to be a sine wave motion on the horizon. This phenomenon has been used by native and indigenous people, and even of our heritage, to tell time for close to 5,000 years. And to do that on this horizon with all those mountains that are 30 miles away, San Juans, eastern San Juans, gives you a high accuracy calendar. So if you were born, let's say, on May 13th, or what's today? It's April 19th. Let's see, we're past the equinox, so we're maybe right here. You go up to Chimney Rock and you stand there and watch the sunrise. You can come back on your birthday next year and the sun will rise in the same spot. You can come up to that spot your whole life and the sun will rise at that same spot on the horizon from your perspective. It will not change. Now, I said it wouldn't change, but it does change, but it doesn't change in one lifetime. I'm talking about 1,000 years. It'll change. But over one lifetime, you can go up and find yourself a little calendar. This can be done at home. You can look through a window of your house at the eastern horizon, maybe the western horizon. You can go out in the yard and pick a spot to put a chair or anything. You can go to your favorite spot out in the woods and you watch the sunrise or the sunset and you put in your mind where that spot is. You go up there your next birthday, it'll do the same thing. Well, that's how people of our heritage and of native Puebloan heritage as well told time. And before there were chronometers, which wasn't that long ago in our history, 200 years ago, we didn't have clocks. Maybe 300 years. I don't remember when the chronometer, I thought it was the late 1700s, early 1800s that the chronometer started coming into our Western culture. But at any rate, before that time, this was how you told the yearly time. So we'll go on past that. Now this is what Denise was talking about, I think. Is that right, Denise?
Yeah, it looks like it.
This is in the book, and if you come to a point where you can understand this diagram, you pretty much, if you can internalize this, then you pretty much got what's going on. I had the opportunity to review the new display that's going in the new visitor center and the has anybody else seen those videos that they plan to put in there? Well, they asked me to critique them, so I got a preview. Once those videos get onto the new visitor center, I got them on the computer, but I think they're proprietary right now. But you need to go in there and look at those because I will fill in the gaps from what's going on, what they show you in the visitor center. Those are great educational videos, and they will be well used. And I plan on doing a training for the Chimney Rock volunteers to fill in the gaps from what people can see in those videos. But pretty much, this is what's happening with the moon. So you'll see here the blue lines are the way the sun goes back and forth. You know, it's just like the last slide, except I've taken the extreme, all the middle stuff out, and I just put the ends in the middle, and they're still blue. Now the moon goes back and forth. Let's look at this lower one. In the same pattern like the sun. It's the same type of a sine wave pattern, back and forth on the horizon. But instead of 365 1/4 days, it's taking 27 and some change days to do that same journey. So it moves very rapidly. And you get, if you try to tell time or tell something or predict anything with this, you go crazy. Ever wonder where the term lunatic came from? I mean, you can't do it, but the way that people get a hold of this is what's going on is they only look at when it turns and stops and goes back. Because it's the same thing. It goes fast in the middle. This is one day. So if you go up tomorrow and you look at Chimney Rock and you look at the eastern horizon, let's say the moon rises here, you go up the next day, look at the same spot, the same horizon, it's going to move that far. And that's a long ways. It's 12 or 15 lunar diameters. I mean, you can't quite get a handle on that, but you can get a handle on the extremes. And those extremes are in our Western society now, we call those standstills. Because the moon appears to stand still for 1 or 2 days at either extremes. And this goes on every month. There's nothing to do with the major lunar standstill cycle. We're just talking about a lunar cycle right now. It's at the extremes, we call those standstills. We also call the sun extreme standstills. Only we're using another term which is more associated with Latin, solstice. Solstice means sun stand still. That's what it means in Latin. So the solstice, the sun will stand still in winter solstice and summer solstice and then turn around and go back. The moon does the same thing. So, but we don't call it a lunastice, but it's too close to lunatic. And there are a lot of people that want to call it lunastice. I think that's actually the term in Spanish right now that is being used at the university level. But we in the Western culture, we call it a standstill. And if you look again, so we have that cycle. And now there's another cycle that's put in on top of all this other such. And this is the major and minor. And it's an expansion of the cycle of the moon and a contraction of the cycle of the moon. Expansion and contraction, that takes 18.6 years to do. It's contracted, we call it minor. It doesn't even get anywhere close to where the sun rises in the summer and winter solstice. And when it's expanded, we call it a major, and it goes way beyond the sun, both southern and northern. And when it goes way beyond the sun, it can rise between the spires. I think this one takes a little while to boot up, so bear with me. It's a big slide. I'd rather show everybody this slide. Once they get the back and forth, the expansion, the contraction takes 18.6 years. But now I've just taken the very northern end of that same thing. Same thing we just saw. Only now I'm only plotting the very farthest in the northeast horizon. And you start at year 1, and you go around in the circle. It takes 18.6 years. I started at year 0 there to do that. And you can see that for 1 or 2, maybe 3 years, it can peek through the spires. And that's what everybody's excited about, because it appears from all evidence, there is a preponderance of evidence that these ancient people understood this cycle and commemorated it. And the understanding of the cycle within what we call a non-advanced civilization is pretty phenomenal. Because this is knowledge that is not easily gained, but evidently these people gained the knowledge, and it was important to them enough that they commemorated it, and not just the Chimney Rock. But Chimney Rock is held out as one of the major sites throughout the whole world as being strongly evident that these people knew the cycle, understood how it worked, and they took it seriously. So that's the big thing. We're sitting here in Little Pagosa Springs, and we'll have people from every nationality that will know about Chimney Rock and the major lunar standstill moon rises. And some of them will come here. At least that's what happened 18 years ago. I think I got one more. No, let's see. Okay, this is a little bit of just straight orbital dynamics. I'm sure most everybody's seen this from high school and college or even grade school. But this is just a review. You know, when we put a globe on a table, it's always tilted. You know, they never show a globe straight up, they always show it tilted. they show that tilted. It's called the obliquity of the ecliptic. Don't worry about that term. I use it a lot of time to tongue tease everybody. But it's the axis is tilted from the celestial equator. And that's what causes the seasons. But the moon is tilted from the celestial equator and the ecliptic. And that's what we need to show those videos that are going to be in the visitor center as it opens up or soon thereafter on May 18th. And to get a really good feel for that, go ahead and either go to the visitor center or buy my book, or both. So when I considered doing this talk, what I really wanted to show you was the character of what the moon really looks like when it does this. In order to do that, I just have to tell you some facts, and they may not be able to be fully explained. I can take questions, but I would hope your curiosity would be perked and that you would do a little research on your own. But I will say that there's only one phase of the moon that comes through the spires that is full. It'll only happen 1 or 2 days a year, and it'll always be around the winter solstice. So the full moon rising in between the spires at Chimney Rock, when the sun sets and the moon rises full, will be around the winter solstice. It could be before the winter solstice, it could be after, it just depends, because the moon is on a different schedule than the sun. So that's just a variable, and I couldn't even tell you. We have them all calculated, but I don't have them memorized. So everybody will say, oh, that's the event. We got to go see the full moon rise. I'm here to show you that that may not be the most spectacular. So I want you all to know that everybody who's coming to Pagosa, trying to get into the lottery or whatever we're going to do to allow people up there, everybody's going to want to do the full moon. And okay, fine. But as somebody, I was up on the Great House Cuesta for close to 20 of these events. Out of 25 public events, I think I was there for 20. And I'm here to tell you that some of the ones in August or September were more spectacular to me. And I want to show you some of those. So now we're going to go to the actual photos. Let's see what we can do here. I got a lot of things open, but we'll just go ahead and get rid of them. And now we go back. I might put my glasses on. Oops, I went too many. Okay, you see by my little thing there, I'm going to show you images from 2004, 2005, 2006, and then some miscellaneous ones. So every year for those 2004, 2005, 2006, and a few in 2007, we had public programs, and there were a lot of people taking photos. And you'll see here at 2004, I've got photos from July 15th, August 12th, September 8th, October 5th and 6th, so we had 2 programs. November 1st, December 25 and 26, and then I've actually got some moon rises for January, which is unusual. The site becomes very problematic. Has everybody been up to the upper mesa on Chimney Rock. Who has not been up there? Okay, there's only one or two of you. Well, you'll realize right away when you start walking up there, if there's snow and ice on that thing, you're not going up there. And you take your life in your own hands if you do that. So at any rate, we had a blessed 3 years, 18 years ago. We can hope for a blessed 3 years coming up, but I wouldn't put money on it. Okay, so what I've got is, these are all in series. I'm sorry this was out of focus. Let's go back one. So these are just raw photos at this point. What I want to show you is this is kind of an index photo. So we set up before the sun goes down, and then we wait for a certain time of the night when we can start taking photos. Okay, so here's the moon coming through. You see it's a crescent moon. Just remember this is in July. Crescent moon rising between the spires at night will be July and August. You can't even see the Twin Towers, can you? It's because there's not enough lumens in the sky, and I'm not a great photographer. So there we go, it's moving. Oh, now you can see, well, no you can't. I can see on my screen just a little bit of the Twin Towers, but since it's early July, it's just before sunrise, and when the sun rose, we got that. Not quite as impressive as what I got on my screen. I'm sorry about that. And then you go further, and that's the photo on the cover of my book. Either that or that one. But I think it's this one, and what I did was I photoshopped it and I put a full moon up there. So my book lies to you. Because you can look on the cover now, hold it up, you'll see it's probably a full moon. I think I did superimpose the full moon on that. So anyway, there's July. Now in August, oh, by the way, is this, you can see the stars and you can see the lights of Pagosa Springs. And I was going to take you out and do some star watching with you tonight, but it's been so hazy and windy and cloudy, that may not be a good idea. Or we may not see anything. But I will tell you a few things here. This is the V of Taurus the Bull. This is, where we got?
Go up, go up, go up.
This is Auriga. This is the star I want to let everybody know about. It was one of my main objectives of tonight. I want everybody to, if they're interested in this, I would hope and pray everybody would learn this one star. It's called Elnath. And it's between Taurus the Bull and Gemini, which I believe is just rising. This is Castor and Pollux. But this is the companion rock. Here's Chimney Rock right here. Well, somewhere. You can't see it on that one, I'm sorry, but it's on the one I got. Let's go one more and see what we can see. Okay, and you'll notice here the stars look like they're a little long here. That's because I'm taking photos that are long exposures. So in order to get the moon to shine in a photography, you have to play with the exposure time. This is one of my favorites. You know, and I'm talking about winter solstice full moon rises too. This is still one of my favorite moon rises.
This is in August?
This one's in August 8th. It's amazing. Well, I love it. Let's just put it that way. Okay, now we'll go to September. All these are associated with a time of the night. Isn't that gorgeous? This is about midnight. September moon rises will be half of the orb illuminated, or a quarter moon, and it will rise between the spires somewhere around midnight. The August moon will still be a crescent moon. It will rise between the spires somewhere around 2 a.m., 3 a.m. maybe. The July, the very crescent, will be a small crescent, and it will rise between the spires somewhere just before dawn, 4 or 5 in the morning. So you got to get up. So people don't want to do that. They want to get up at 8 p.m. and go up at 8 p.m. and watch the moon rise at 9 and then go home. And I don't blame them. But these moon rises will be part of our public programs. And so if for some reason you don't get into the lottery or whatever, you always think about these, because I saw a lot of these, and I certainly like these moon rises through the spires. When we get to October, we get a gibbous orb. I'll start going through these a little faster. That's certainly pretty too.
Where in, on the trail or?
No, we're on top. We're actually in the lookout tower for most of these.
Oh.
Okay, so the lookout tower is gone. So that brings up a very interesting problem that we're dealing with the committee that's trying to put this together, is now we got to figure out a different place to stand. And that's not as easy as it sounds.
Ron, are those ground lights Capote Lake?
No, the ground lights are all the way in Pagosa Springs. As a matter of fact, we had a lot of time to waste while we're up at 2 in the morning. We got 20 people on the lookout tower, and they're all waiting for the moon to rise. We wanted to get them up there 15 minutes early. We used to sit and watch the light at Piedra Road turn from red to green. Red to green. Because you can see it from the lookout tower anyways. So, that's got to be Piedra, the light at 160 in Piedra, and sure enough, you could watch it turn from red to green. Now, mind you, most of these are my photography, and I wasn't necessarily the best photographer up there. That reminds me of something else. If you're considering going up, this is the next day, by the way, October 6th, I believe. If you're considering going up, consider this event experiential, because photography is going to be at least 5 times harder during this event, this next 3 years, than it was 18 years ago. And if you want to ask me afterward, that'd be fine. I get into a long discussion about that. But you're more than welcome to try. Unfortunately, these are long exposures, and we're not going to be able to accommodate tripods. So that's the short answer. Your alternative is to go to the Forest Service and get a commercial permit for commercial photography and pay $300 to $500 or something like that. But through CREA, I don't believe we're going to be accommodating tripods. I think we might be able to accommodate maybe 3 tripods per moonrise at the very back of the crowd. But we haven't decided any of that yet. But I'm telling you, personally, I think this is an experiential event, and that I was very privileged to be able to experience so many of them, and I am going to defer that privilege to other people this time. I might get up there, but it's not imperative for me. I'd rather that you all get up there to experience. Okay, now we're in November, and the lumens in the moon gets quite a bit bigger. So it's starting to show the rocks a little bit more in photography. And the stars a little bit less, and then when it goes behind the rocks, you can change your exposure and get that. But when you're up there in person, you don't change your exposure. Your eyes does that for you anyways. So you get to see this kind of view the whole time the moon's in the gap. You can't photograph that. So you could see this. You could see the outline of the spires with the moon doing its little dance right through it. In this type of relief, only with more detail, with your naked eye, and your camera will see it like this. It's not near as impressive. Then as soon as it comes out the other side, whoops, it blurs out again because the lumens overpower the photographic lens. Now I'm told by photographers in 18 years hence that the state of digital photography has gone through the roof, and that all my discussions about photography may be null and void at this point. So I'm not going to say that you're not going to be able to get good photographs, but I am saying I wouldn't go up there expecting to get good photographs. Okay, so here we are in December. Did you guys see what the date was? Let's go back one. The 26th. So the day after Christmas. Let's do 26th first. It just happens to be on top. So we had 2 dates. And there's the moon through the spires. There's still a lot of lumens in the sky from the sun. So everything's there except the stars. That's a pretty nice photo. Okay, let's see that again. There's people on the lookout tower. You see how it shifts like that? That's because somebody hits the tripod. Because we couldn't accommodate tripods. There were commercial people that were there that were down below the tower that they didn't have to put up with that. So let's go back to Christmas Day. That one, those photos were Dr. Roger Kopp. Okay, so now it's a day earlier. The moon is rising about an hour earlier in the day. The sun has not set. This is not necessarily a good thing, because now watch the moon come through. You can barely see it compared to the last time. Where is it? Oh, there it is. That's nowhere near as spectacular. So how are you going to determine that? We've got the dates figured out, but we don't know the lumens of the sun and the moon and when the clouds are in the sky. So the whole event is going to be for the spectacular moonrise like what Helen Richardson has, and which have been put on Dr. Malville's latest book. To get a photograph like that, that was a once-in-a-lifetime photo. And if somebody repeats that type of a photo, like the ones, the nice one that Dr. Roger Kopp got, I'd be surprised. There it goes. There it is, after it got over. So the whole whole thing with this, I'm going to go through the rest rather quickly, but the whole thing with this is that we've got an event coming up. We've got 3 years to deal with trying to get things going, but all of them have their own character and their own characteristics, and they're all spectacular in their own way. So don't think that you're going to get cheated or a second-rate lunar performance if you happen to get an August moonrise instead of a December moonrise. Okay, here we are again. I can't remember the date, but this is the early part of 2026. Notice the star trails. When the stars appear as little lines, that means it's long exposure. So there's another quickie. That was a crescent moon. Here's a September moonrise, which will be a quarter orb. You see good stars. Notice that Taurus is on his side. I'm going to refer to that here towards the end of the program, but I just want you to realize that this way, you're looking at a sky dome. So when Taurus sets, it's going to be nosediving first. So with the stars rise in a certain position, the constellations I'm talking about now, and they'll set in a whole different configuration when they go down. And that's took me a little while to figure that out. Okay, here we go, September again. One of the most spectacular moonrises I ever experienced was that September. Again, about a quarter orb. Oh, this looks like one we just saw, but it's a different year. Okay, so we'll go to October. Let's just do one of these and see. Let's go October 6th. When the clouds are in the sky partially like this, it seemed to have made it a more dramatic event.
How many minutes is that from the time it rises to it hides behind the other
You know, I used to have that memorized. I think it's about 7 to 8 minutes. Does not take long. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just guessing at this point because it's been 18 years since I've really thought deeply about this. But I'm having to think deeply about it again. Okay, so this is October, November. Oh, it's probably November because we got a pretty full disk. No clouds in the sky. And when it goes behind, there we got, again, now this is not the same photo. This is the same month of a photo we saw a year ago, but it's not the same photo. Oh wait, I forgot the December moonrise. Oh, and I wanted to show you January moonrise. Oh, this is the same year. Am I showing you the same stuff all over again?
Yes.
Sorry about that. But we'll go to one that you haven't seen. This is January, so the sun's going to be up in the sky the whole time. Where's the moon? Can you see it? No. It's there. Now, there's talk within the Cree organization that says, well, the moon's going to rise between the spires in the daytime. Why don't we sell events? You're going to sell the event to see a moon that you can't see? The sun overpowers it. The atmosphere is illuminated, and it blocks out the lumens of the moon. This is almost a full moonrise. A little bit later on, I've got, we walked up there in March. Let's do these real quick. So let me know if you guys need me to go faster. These will probably be mostly black until I get to a certain point. There we go. Okay, now my camera did all those little colorful dots, so that was a flaw in my camera. Those aren't stars. So if you'll notice, the moon doesn't rise at the same location through the spires every event. Okay, here we go with a close to winter solstice moonrise. And excuse my poor photography. This one's actually pretty nice. So yes, a December full moon will be nice if there's no clouds and there's no ice on the trail. And actually, like it showed there, I'll show you a professional photographer's idea of photos here. You can't quite see the spires, but you can on his sharp images. So that's not it's not showing up on this TV. The resolution's not good. Now, just so you know, over the course of 3 years, we figured out, well, you could watch the moon rise at other locations as well. And if you'll notice here, as you've been up, this is what you see when you first top out. We call it the guardhouse. So I'm at the edge of the guardhouse, set up with my tripod, and now I'm gonna, this is where I am. You can see the trail. There's a gap. I'm gonna move away from that tree though. And here's the moonrise. Sorry for all, my camera's not all that great. So there are other locations. Let's go to another year, because there's still some that here. Okay, here's the March. This is March 7th. I'm sorry that the month's not on there. Notice it arrives, it will rise about noon on March. It rises about midnight in September. It rises about sunset in December, and it'll rise at sunrise in June 21st, which is right next to the sun, and of course you don't see the moon. Where's the moon? Don't bother going up in March. It's there. I don't think the ancient people bothered with that either. Okay, this appears to be at the end of July. Oh, and I'm on the ruin now. The ruin is off limits for major lunar standstills, but I did have a research permit and permission from Puebloans to document some. This will not be allowed this year. You can see the lookout tower, which is no longer there. But let's go and watch. Oh, see, it just glowed is all it did. There was not even a moon visible because of the clouds. So I got my permit and nothing happened. Oh, you think that's something? We had 2 commercial documentary quality firms that were trying to get footage of the major lunar standstill. One of them was out of Seattle, the other one was out of California. They would get their permits that the Forest Service dealt with. I wasn't dealing with them. We were told to accommodate them as all. They came up there with their equipment, they set it all up, they did all this, they did all that, and then it rained. None of them got footage. But my friend, up on my research permit, has some footage, and we can show you that footage. He's released the copyright to us. This is the last sequence. We got pretty fancy towards the third year, going, well, hey, where else can you see this from? This is the Ridge House, and I'm sorry I don't have a map for those that don't know the site that well, but this is close to the parking lot. And here's the top of the mesa. So the great house is behind this tree, but you can see a little piece of the twin spires right there. So we had a whole bunch of people, and we scattered them all over the Chimney Rock site at all kinds of locations, and some of them got shots that showed the moon. Now this one's difficult. I might have to zoom it up. Let's go to the next one, because I think it's the next one you can see the moon on.
I think you had some testing of whether those trees have grown to the point where you're not be able to see them.
Yeah. Well, it depends. We're going to go into negotiation with the Forest Service. If there is enough demand, and if they conclude that it's feasible, we will see about selective trimming of branches and then get people closer to the parking lot to be able to see the moonrise between the spires. But that's totally subjective and wishful thinking at the moment. We'll have to do more research on that. This is enough. I know I can see it on my slide, but I don't think you can see it on this slide. But if we open this up a little bit right here, and maybe about 3 people wide, we could get a row of 3 people. And at night, it would show up. In the daytime, it doesn't show up that well. But we've already talked about the daytime moon is really hard to see anyways. Okay, so what I want to do now, just a few miscellaneous moonrises, and then we'll go to the next part. The moon's there. January, full moon. You see it? Nope, nope. Not really. Okay, we already did that. This is one of the best shots I got. It's similar to Helen Richardson's, but not quite as spectacular as hers. Here's a good moonrise from the guardhouse. Notice the trees are gone. That's because the Forest Service was very enthusiastic last time. When we found out you could see the moonrise between the spires from the guardhouse, they cut all the trees down. They're not that enthusiastic this time. I didn't ask them to cut the trees down. Here's just a nice shot of a winter moonrise as we're coming down after the moon rose. Okay, this is another shot. You can see the moon clearly. This is, it appears to be a March moonrise. I'm sorry that the dates are all screwed up on my camera at this point, but I can tell by the time of day and the amount of phase that the moon is in that this was probably that same March moonrise, only this is down closer to the Ridge House. So it can be done. That the nighttime moon rising between the spires could be seen from the Ridge House. We'll have to do some more research. Okay, so here's that same March moonrise, and you can't see it. But it's there. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. Oops, no, not that one. It's back here. Everybody totally bored? I got one more. It's right here. And it was, I started with this show to get you all going, and then I wanted to continue that talk just a little bit. Here's another graphic of the same thing. These are really, if you want to understand, grab some of typical astronomy books and get these diagrams and start thinking about them. This one is not quite as good as the next one. I like it a little. Oops, no, I'm sorry, the one previous. This one's pretty good. This one shows everything but does not show the moon. Okay, so you have to learn, first off, that the Earth is tilted 23¼ degrees from the path of the Earth around the Sun. The path around the Earth around the Sun is called the ecliptic. It shows up right there. The tilt is associated with the polars, and then this thing called the celestial equator. Celestial equator is the same thing as the terrestrial equator, except it's projected up into space. So if you were on the equator in the country of Ecuador, you look straight up and it will be, you'd be looking at the celestial equator as well. But I did want to show you some of the stars. And I'm sorry, because I really did plan to take you out tonight. We'll have a look here in a minute, see if the clouds are cleared. But here's Taurus, here's Gemini, here's Auriga, and disregard Venus, this is just a random shot on a sky map program. But this star here, which is randomly shown in Auriga or Taurus, is called Beta Taurus, which has a proper name of Elnath. And Elnath became very important. I had no idea, but since I was up there for a lot of events, it figured that something was going on with Elnath. Because we'd be up there maybe a half hour before the moon rose between the spires. Everybody would be up there pretty much settled in, drinking their hot cocoa or coffee, which we had pots of up there. And they'd be listening to myself or another volunteer or another academic or dignitary talking about the event. And you could see Elnath rise between the spires. And sure enough, soon after, the moon would rise between the spires. Every event, Elnath rises. Oh, the moon's going to rise. Now, the time between Elnath rising, let's go to the next slide because I think it's better. Oh, there's Elnath. Let's see where that slide is. Did I misplace it? Oh, there it is. Nope, same ones. The time between Elnath rising between the spires would vary, but it would always be after Elnath. It was never before. That's because the moon has to be in a certain location with the backdrop of the stars to be able to be in that position where it can come through the spires. And so that position is between Taurus and Gemini. So sometime the moon was right here, rising after Elnath. Sometime the moon is right here. Now this is the western horizon, and I apologize because I did mean to put that other slide in here, and I just don't see it. I'll look for it one more time. No, that's, okay, yeah. I did have it, yay! Okay, so now we're looking at the eastern horizon. Here's Taurus. Now remember on the other slide, Taurus is pointed straight down. And now all of a sudden the V of Taurus is up here. That's how you know it's rising on the eastern horizon. Because the V is in this position rather than this position. The V will be in this position when it sets. It'll always be on its side when it rises. Here's Elnath. Here's Gemini. This is the location. When the moon, here's the ecliptic, and the moon path goes this way on the 18.6 year cycle, but it's only in this short little band between Elnath and Gemini when it can rise between the spires. And this is observational astronomy. I would have never known this from my programs. I would have never known this from college universities. I would have never known this talking to other archaeoastronomers. I know this because I saw it so many times. How do you think the ancients figured this stuff out? They watched. So if you want to learn, I'm giving you a clue here. You don't have to take as much time as I took. Just learn in the night sky, and I was going to show you tonight. Taurus, Gemini, and Elnath. You can go home. You don't have to look at any prediction tables. You don't have to do anything. Starting next year, 2023, around September, when you see the moon approaching Elnath, oh, I could go up to Chimney Rock. So if you're an ancient person 1,000 years ago, and you're coming from Chaco Canyon, and it takes you 7 to 12 days to walk from Chaco Canyon, and your people tell you the moon's going to be passing Elnath 12 days from now, that's all observational astronomy. So people from Chaco know when to start walking. This is pretty phenomenal. And there's every indication this event wanted to be experienced by a great number of people. And so even in our modern era where this culture has disseminated and we have pueblos out there that have this knowledge and we are aware of this knowledge, we will have a lot of people, in my estimation, a lot of people are going to want to get up there. And you can do it all by observational astronomy. You don't need these computers. Okay, yeah, let's go for questions.
Hey Ron, you mentioned they wanted to experience, the observation, the spectacular vision of it. For what purpose was there behind that?
That is the debate among ancient astronomy people, academics, that's been going on for 25 years. And I have a pretty good idea, but I don't think I could explain it in less than a half an hour. No, there is no cultural significance other than this became important to them for some reason. We do not know. But that's what my talk on March 16th out at the site is going to address. I'm going to talk about academic perceptions of ancient astronomy. So I'll have another talk about an hour long with PowerPoint. This time I promise it'll be PowerPoint instead of this click and go kind of thing.
Do you mean May 16th?
I'm sorry?
Do you mean May 16th?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say April?
You said March.
Oh, sorry. May 16th, after the day after the May 15th lunar eclipse, at the new amphitheater, hopefully, we can get it all together and have the talk. And I can show you the PowerPoint I put together and presented to Native Americans. And it was well received. So I'm going to defer that question to May 16th. How's that? I would love to address it, though. Are we ready for a few lights? Any other questions, or we want to go back through something?
During those 3 years, every night will be, to get in, will be a lottery? Or like
We don't know how to handle
It may
it.
not be crowded, but
The directive from the Forest Service and the Native Americans is that it is not to be based on your super amount of income. So in other words, you can't pay $1,000 and be guaranteed a seat. So the only way we can deal with an excess of people that want up is to do it on a lottery. So yes. So we'll have something, if you don't get drawn for the lottery, you can put in for another one and that kind
right,
of thing.
but it'll be 5 or 6 months in a row, right?
Yes. Just 1 or 2 nights per month, though. Because the moon takes 27 and a quarter days to get back to that position again. And it's only there for 1 or 2 nights. Then it goes away again. Well, good, I have you all dumbfounded. I don't know about dumbfounded or just tired and want to go get something to drink. Oh, we got another question. Yeah.
What month was that famous picture taken?
Which one? The one on the book, my book, or the one on?
The one the lady took.
That was the same moonrise as the one I said my photo was close to. Only her camera was better, and that was, I'm going to say, December 26th
Okay.
of 2004, but I'm not sure.
In December.
Yeah. Full moonrise, only in December, between the spires. Never rise full any other month of the year. And that's kind of hard to grasp sometimes.
Ron, who was the first person to discover the 18.6-year cycle?
It was a Pueblo guy about 1,000 years ago.
No, I mean in recent times. The first
I'm
person.
sorry, that was.
We're quite aware that happened a while ago.
That was Kim Malville. I mean, he verified it. I think there was some people that thought. Kim Malville is a retired astrophysicist out of a university in Denver. I can't remember which one.
Colorado Boulder.
Yeah, and
Was
so.
he using observational astronomy, and what year was that?
No, he didn't use observational astronomy. He used program.
Charts, and said, oh, it probably happened.
Yeah, well, the major lunar standstill was already making waves in the archaeoastronomy community. You know, archaeoastronomy has to do with calendrics mostly, how people use the stars, the sun, and the moon, and all this to figure out when to plant crops, figure out how to get to festivals, figure out how to do this, figure out how to have a culture. And they use mostly the sun. So most archaeoastronomy has to do with solar events, stellar events, and sun positioning of the planets. But at Chimney Rock, we have this esoteric 18.6-year cycle that seems to have been, with the preponderance of evidence, very significant to these people. This is very unusual in all of ancient and indigenous astronomy throughout the whole world.
1987 is when he
87.
discovered
But
it.
they concluded that the Chacoan people, whoever they were, Chaco, Salmon Ruins, Aztec, all have the 18.6 lunar standstill built into the architecture. That's post the...
So, did you all hear that? He's saying the fact that the 18.6-year cycle of the moon seems to be encoded in architecture throughout the whole Puebloan culture at that time period for about 100 years. When you do this, we are not using scientific data. We are not in the fields of pure science. We're in the fields of humanities. So archaeoastronomy falls under astronomy, which is a science, but also falls under archaeology, which is a humanities, which falls under anthropology, And a lot of things go, anthropology cannot use the scientific method. So when you can't do that, you cannot state for a fact that these people were concerned. But what we